Okay, I didn't plan to make this video, but after watching a pile of Chapter 5 breakdowns the past few days from Think Noodles, Sheep Rampage, Poppy Theory, Copper 60, and others, I started noticing something weird. Not just new monster weird, I mean the reaction. The same trailer dropped, and half the community said it looks amazing, while the other half said it looks like a Disney movie. And somehow, one character turned the entire fanbase into a war zone. Lily Lovebraids. But here's the thing nobody is talking about. The drama itself might be part of the strategy. Today, I want to walk through what actually happened, what creators noticed, what the developers responded to, why people are reacting the way they are, and why this whole situation might be telling us something bigger about Chapter 5. If you watch one breakdown, you think, cool trailer. If you watch two, you start noticing disagreements. But after watching multiple creators cover the same footage, the same character, the same dev replies, you start seeing patterns. Not just in the game, in the reaction. And that's when it stops being random. When the final Chapter 5 gameplay trailer released, most creators agreed on one thing. It looked polished. Sheep Rampage pointed out new mechanics, including the star device and blacklight mechanic. Think Noodles showed updated screenshots and the new grab pack tools. And several creators highlighted a new ally character voice, later confirmed by voice actor Elliot Schiff, named Giblet. But the moment Lily appeared, everything changed. Gaming Times coverage showed real tweets flooding in. People saying she looked rushed, too small, not scary, looks like Garden of Banban, looks like a Disney movie. And the comparisons exploded so fast that even the developers of Garden of Banban tweeted they were catching strays. This wasn't a quiet criticism, this was a viral backlash. But here's where things get interesting. Sheep Rampage pointed out something important. Most of the criticism came from very specific shots. Lily in a brightly lit toy room, colorful environments, childlike tea party scenes, and that led to a bigger complaint. People saying Chapter 5 looks too colorful to be horror. But that's when Toby responded in Discord. According to Sheep Rampage and Gaming Times breakdowns, Toby explained, the toy-like environments exist because of the lore. Playtime Co. made spaces colorful to make children feel safe before experimentation, which means the bright colors aren't removing horror, they are the horror. And when fans worried the aesthetic might ruin the tone, Toby replied, you haven't even seen a quarter of the game. That one sentence changed the conversation, because it confirmed something important. The trailer is only showing selected environments. When fans compared the dollhouse environment to Banban, Toby responded, that part makes sense in the lore, but you don't know about it yet. And if you followed earlier chapters, this tracks. Chapter 2 was colorful, Chapter 3 had entire cartoon environments. Playcare in Chapter 3 looked like a playground. Those weren't artistic mistakes, they were bait. Bright spaces hiding dark reality. Another major criticism, she isn't intimidating. But as several creators pointed out, Mommy Longlegs also had a cute face. Catnap looked harmless before he moved, and the entire horror of Poppy Playtime has always come from contrast. Cute toy design versus violent behavior. Copper 60 even suggested Lily's childlike personality may be deliberate. Her tea parties, her doll conversations, her playful tone. Not scary on the surface, unsettling underneath. Copper 60 highlighted several key details. She speaks in a childlike tone. She hosts tea parties with dolls. She says, we're going to have so much fun. She chases the player. She traps the player with her braid. And in one voice line, she warns, he's going to kill them all, which suggests she knows the prototype's plan. Not just a monster, a character with knowledge. Copper 60 proposed that Lily may begin friendly, then turn hostile after the player steals the star device from her room. That idea lines up with trailer footage showing the star attached to the grab pack hand during Lily chase scenes, meaning we likely obtain it from her. And the star device itself appears to react to danger, lighting up with emotional faces. Sheep Rampage even suggested the purple glow indicates a blacklight mechanic for revealing hidden clues, which would connect perfectly with Chapter 5's theme of hidden information. Sheep Rampage and Gaming Time both highlighted this chapter introduces multiple gameplay mechanics, new grab pack tools, environmental scanning, light-based discovery, which is important because Chapter 4 was criticized for lacking new mechanics, and Dev Spencer confirmed they used feedback from Chapter 4 to improve Chapter 5. Right after the trailer, Mob updated previous chapters on PC. ThinkNoodles reported that the update added achievements, but also introduced bugs and graphical issues. Fans complained. Within hours, Mob rolled the update back and apologized on Steam. That response actually reassured fans. They're listening. Gaming Time reported over 40,000 posts about the trailer drama. That number sounds insane, but it proves something. People care. When an indie horror game triggers that level of reaction, it's no longer niche, it's mainstream attention. Toby also addressed Lily's appearance quality, saying compression and YouTube quality make the model look worse, and the in-game version looks more detailed, which could explain the greasy look fans complained about. This is common in trailers. Compression destroys textures and lighting. Fans also asked about the red character teased in the ARG. Toby responded jokingly, "Who?" Creators believe this means the character is important and intentionally hidden. Mob historically hides major reveals in trailers, so the absence may actually confirm importance. Here's the real answer. She represents three things at once: contrast horror design, childlike innocence versus danger, and a tonal shift back to toy environments. And after Chapter 4's rocky launch, fans are hypersensitive to anything that looks different, which means every frame gets overanalyzed. Gaming Time suggested something interesting. Drama creates attention. Attention creates hype. And whether intentional or not, controversy has pushed Chapter 5 into viral territory. More tweets, more videos, more curiosity. Free marketing. Here's what's confirmed. The chapter introduces new mechanics. Lily plays a major role. Environments are lore accurate. Devs incorporated fan feedback, and more areas exist than the trailer shows. And hidden characters are still unrevealed. And we are days away from release. I don't think Lily is the problem. I think she's the spark. The real test isn't the trailer. It's how the chapter feels when you're alone, in the dark, and the cute toy stops acting cute. Because that's always been the moment Poppy Playtime gets you. I don't think Lily is the problem. I think she's the spark. Finally, we have to address the subtitle, Broken Things. The prototype explicitly tells Poppy, "Come back, I shall fix you." This ties into the wrong side out animals we saw in the teaser, creatures whose anatomy has been inverted. The prototype isn't just a killer, he's a fixer. As ThinkNoodles and Gaming Time have speculated, he is building a rebirth of the factory. Every toy he fixes is a part of his master plan. We are likely being lured down to the labs not to stop the prototype, but to become the final broken thing he needs to complete his work. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think the backlash is justified? Or do you think people are judging too early? And what worries you more, Lily, or what the trailer didn't show? Drop it below. And if you want coverage like this when Chapter 5 drops, subscribe. We're almost there. Let's get straight to it. Chapter 5 was supposed to be the end of Poppy Playtime. Not a cliffhanger, not a setup, not a bridge to another chapter. The end. And we didn't learn that from a leak or a rumor or some random Twitter theory. We learned it directly from Isaac, the original director behind the first 3 chapters. In the moment he confirmed it, everything changed. Because if Chapter 5 was meant to finish the story, Why are we still going? Over the past week, Isaac held a Q&A answering fan questions about Chapter 5. At first, it seemed harmless. Then, someone asked the question that detonated the community. Did they use your original story outline? Isaac answered, the original story ended in Chapter 5, but I'm not sure how long it will go now. That single sentence did more damage to the community than any trailer, leak, or drama ever could. Because suddenly, fans weren't debating mechanics. They weren't debating Lily. They weren't debating puzzles. They were debating motive. Was the story extended for creative reasons or commercial ones? Now, to be fair, Isaac didn't accuse anyone. In fact, he said something important. When someone hands you a story, it's hard to execute that vision without them. It makes sense to bring in new people with fresh ideas. And he's right. Game development is collaborative. Stories evolve, plans change. But that doesn't stop fans from asking, if Chapter 5 was meant to conclude everything, what changed? Here's where things get even more interesting. Isaac confirmed that Chapter 4 mostly followed his outline, but Chapter 5? That's where the direction shifted. And suddenly, a lot of things make more sense. The extended pacing, the added mechanics, the expanded areas, the unresolved mysteries. It doesn't feel like an ending, because originally it wasn't supposed to continue. And if you've been online recently, you've probably seen the reaction. Some fans welcomed the news. More story, more lore, more chapters. Others weren't so happy. Tweets started circulating claiming the franchise is being stretched. Comments flooded in saying the story could have ended with a powerful conclusion. One user wrote, "Extending the story feels like milking it." Another said, "It should have ended at 5." And this is where things get complicated, because success changes everything. Chapter 5 didn't just release, it exploded. Over 100,000 copies sold in the first few hours, over 50,000 concurrent players on Steam. That's more than every previous chapter peak combined. That level of success doesn't just reward a studio, it expands the audience, it raises expectations, and it makes ending the story much harder. But the Q&A didn't stop there. Isaac also revealed that the prototype was originally very different. Instead of the sleek mechanical design we see now, he was envisioned as something more grotesque, a jester-like head, scrap metal body, human parts, toy remains, even the heads of fallen characters, and multiple grab packs on his back to lift himself and chase the player. That version sounds less engineered and more monstrous, less calculated and more chaotic, which tells us something important. The prototype's final design wasn't just aesthetic, it reflects a shift in direction, from horror rooted in decay to horror rooted in precision and control. Then came another revelation. Several Chapter 5 characters weren't part of the original plan. Chum, Giblet, the Automals, all new additions. Lily had early concept art but wasn't part of the outline, which explains why some players felt certain sections expanded the experience without pushing the main story forward. That doesn't mean they're bad, it means they weren't part of the original structure. But the biggest question still remained. If the story changed, where is it heading now? But the biggest question still remained. If the story changed, where is it heading now? Developers have given us small clues. A team member explained they have a long-term vision for the story's emotional destination, but they keep the roadmap flexible so the world can grow with the community. In simple terms, they know where it ends, but they aren't locking the path. And that flexibility is exciting and terrifying because it means anything is possible. The CEO also addressed the drama directly. He said it's interesting to see what connected with players and what didn't. Some praised the animation, others mocked it. Some loved the game, others hated it. And he pointed out something worth noting. An 85% positive rating is still very strong, but he also added he won't rest until it reaches overwhelmingly positive. That's not defensiveness, that's ambition.
Meanwhile, updates behind the scenes suggest the future may lean deeper into horror. A recent job listing from the studio specifically requested developers with experience in psychological horror, tension pacing, player vulnerability, systemic scare design, and experience with games like Alien Isolation, Soma, and Dead Space. That's not subtle. That's a direction. And then there's Chapter 6. Is it the finale? We don't know. Some fans think the new prototype merchandise featuring numbers 1 through 6 hints at a final chapter. Others say it's just the Playtime Co. logo turned sideways. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe it's not. What we do know is this. Chapter 5 was originally the ending. The story changed, the direction evolved, and now the future of Poppy Playtime is no longer predictable. But here's the real question. Would the original ending have been better? Isaac described it as bittersweet, not happy, not tragic, something emotional, something heavy, the kind of ending that stays with you. Now we may never see that version, or pieces of it may still surface. Isaac even hinted that some of his ideas might still appear in Chapter 6, but he isn't expecting them to. And maybe that uncertainty is the point. Because Poppy Playtime has always been about control being an illusion, experiments escaping design, systems breaking structure, plans falling apart. So maybe it's fitting that the story itself evolved beyond its original ending. But I want to hear from you. Should the story have ended at Chapter 5, or are you glad it's continuing? And what worries you more, that the ending changed, or that we might never know what it was? Let me know below. And if you want more breakdowns like this as Chapter 6 develops, subscribe. Because whatever comes next, it's not the story we expected. And that might make it even more interesting. I finished Chapter 5, and I just sat there staring at the screen. Because that wasn't an ending. That was the moment the story finally flipped. Poppy is gone. The prototype is still in control. And the one person we thought was dead is back. Dr. Harley Sawyer. If you blinked during those final minutes, you probably missed what the game actually revealed, because Chapter 5 doesn't explain anything directly. It shows you just enough to make you think you understand, and then it pulls the floor out from under you. So let's slow this down and walk through what really happened and why this ending changes everything. The final sequence tricks you into thinking you escaped. You survive the train run. You jump. For a second, it feels like relief. Then the prototype returns. Fast, violent, unstoppable. Exactly how he's been built up since Chapter 3. The attack is overwhelming, and then suddenly everything shifts into that strange dreamlike sequence. The sound fades, the visuals distort, and for a moment, it genuinely feels like we died. Sheep Rampage mentioned this felt like a fake ending when he first played, and honestly, same. To be honest, it feels final. But then we wake up. Giblet revives us, and that moment quietly tells us something important. We are not alone anymore. But survival isn't the victory, because when we wake, Poppy is gone, taken. And right there, the goal changes. We are no longer trying to escape the factory. We are now chasing what took her. All throughout the chapter, Giblet keeps talking about something hidden, something the prototype doesn't want anyone to find.
Oh, hey, you found something. This is it. This is... John, what is this? Negation formula. Sounds spicy. And looks like the prototype doesn't want anyone to find it. They got it stored on a backup in IT. We can get there from the tram in reanimation. You can get us in there, right?
Backup system deep in the facility. He never explains what it is, only that it might help stop the prototype. So we fight through Lily's area. We survive Huggy. We evade the prototype. We push deeper underground. And after everything, we reach the sealed chamber. We open the hatch. and inside is a computer terminal. Not a weapon, not a weakness file, just a system console. And for a second, it feels almost disappointing. After all of that, this? Then the system boots, and we hear a voice.
Well now, this is a rather interesting turn of events.
Well now, this is a rather interesting turn of events. Dr. Harley Sawyer is alive. I don't care how many theories you watched, that moment still hits. Because suddenly, everything we thought was resolved isn't. And here's the thing, this wasn't random. Copper60 pointed out that Sawyer's defeat in Chapter 4 never felt final. We removed a card, we didn't destroy him. And right before his defeat, Sawyer said, "I'll bury myself so far down that no one will ever find me." Yeah, buddy, in your dreams, we are the freaking player, and if we want, we can find you. Well, I wonder if you become our ally or our worst enemy. So how did Sawyer survive? The simplest answer is probably the correct one. He backed himself up. Sawyer isn't just a person. He exists digitally within the factory systems. Before his defeat, he could have copied his consciousness and stored it deep in the IT infrastructure, exactly where we find him. And this lines up perfectly with what Giblet said earlier. They got it stored on a backup in IT. The backup wasn't files. It was Sawyer. Some players assumed Giblet planned this, but his reaction suggests he didn't expect it. And that's important, because Giblet worked under the prototype, but he also wanted him destroyed. If the backup was meant to help defeat the prototype and instead revived Sawyer, that suggests this system existed long before Giblet found it. Sawyer planned for this moment, long before we arrived. Now the real question, why bring Sawyer back? Because so far, one thing has been proven over and over. We cannot defeat the prototype alone. When he appears, he destroys everything. But Sawyer understands the experiments. He helped build them. He understands their limits, their failures, their vulnerabilities. If anyone knows how to stop the prototype, it's him. But trusting Sawyer is another question entirely. In Chapter 4, he warned us about Poppy. He suggested she wasn't telling the full truth. He implied she knew more about the Hour of Joy than she admitted. We ignored him, and after following Poppy's direction, Huggy and Kissy are stabbed, Poppy is captured, we nearly die. So when Sawyer says this is a rather interesting turn of events, he may be acknowledging exactly that. We didn't listen. Now we need his help. That changes the power dynamic completely. One of the biggest reveals in Chapter 5 isn't even in a cutscene. It's in a hidden journal entry near the computer room, and it answers questions people have been asking for years. The note reveals Poppy is Experiment 107. She was Elliot Ludwig's daughter. She inspired the Poppy dolls. Ludwig worked independently from Playtime C. The prototype hid near Theodore, who later became Katnap, and the orphans relocated during the Hour of Joy may have been turned into experiments. Let that sink in. Playtime C didn't start the experiments. They inherited them. Something bigger was already happening beneath the factory. Then there's the most disturbing implication.
What did you do with them? Where are the orphans? Uh-oh, she doesn't know.
I did.
When I had to.
Very.
A better place now.
No. You're a monster!
Poppy asks the prototype, "What did you do with them?" He answers, "They're in a better place now." That does not sound like rescue. That sounds like transformation, which suggests the missing children became experiments, possibly the creatures we encounter, possibly future enemies.
That idea alone makes the factory feel even darker. And this is why the ending feels unresolved, because it is. The prototype now has Poppy, we have Sawyer, the children are missing, and the truth is still buried beneath the facility. This isn't closure, this is escalation. Chapter 6 will likely focus on finding the prototype, rescuing Poppy, uncovering the secret he wanted cracked, learning the truth about the experiments, discovering what happens to the children, and deciding whether Sawyer is ally or enemy. There's also another possibility: escape. Giblet mentions he never plans to stay underground forever, which means there may still be a way out. The prototype isn't just killing, he's collecting, rebuilding, controlling. Every experiment he fixes becomes part of something larger. If he now has Poppy, he may have acquired another critical piece of whatever he is building, and that thought is more unsettling than anything we saw in the chapter. Before Chapter 5, the goal was survival. After Chapter 5, the goal is confrontation. For the first time, we are not running, we are moving toward the truth. And for the first time, we may have the knowledge to fight back. But now I want to hear what you think. Do we trust Sawyer? Did the prototype want us to find him? And what do you think he's building? Because Chapter 5 didn't end the story. It finally revealed how big it really is. And it feels like we've only just stepped into the real game.
And you,
The outsider,
butcher,
they call you.
Shall we see what you look like?
wrong side out.
Okay, let's get straight to it. One of the biggest questions players asked after Chapter 5. Why did Huggy Wuggy suddenly stop attacking when he saw Kissy Missy? Not slow down, not hesitate. He went from pure rage to completely calm. And if you watch that scene carefully, it changes everything we thought we knew about Huggy. Most players expected another chase, another fight, another escape. Instead, we got the most emotional moment in the entire franchise. Huggy sees Kissy. He freezes. His body language changes. The aggression disappears. For the first time in the series, he looks peaceful. Then seconds later, the prototype interrupts the reunion and stabs them both. So what actually happened there? Was Huggy remembering something? Was he controlled? Or was this planned from the beginning? Multiple breakdown channels caught this moment immediately. Sheep Rampage called it the sweetest moment in the franchise before it was destroyed. Poppy Theory pointed out Huggy's behavior wasn't random, it was recognition. And Gaming Time highlighted that fans had predicted Kissy calming Huggy months before release. But the explanation actually goes deeper into Playtime Co. lore. Throughout the series, Playtime Co. experimented with creating companion toys to control aggressive experiments. This isn't theory, it's established behavior. We see it with Mommy Longlegs. Playtime Co. created Daddy Longlegs to calm her. It failed. She killed him. But Huggy was different. Hidden VHS lore suggested something important. Huggy could be calmed by the presence of a companion, and that companion was Kissy Missy. Why Kissy Missy exists? Kissy wasn't created randomly. She was designed to stabilize Huggy, not just as a toy, as emotional control. Unlike Mommy Longlegs, Huggy didn't react with violence. He reacted with recognition, connection, memory, something human. And in Chapter 5, we finally see that purpose fulfilled. When Huggy sees Kissy, he stops chasing, his posture relaxes, his aggression disappears. He looks shocked, then calm. This is not predator behavior. This is recognition, and possibly memory resurfacing. Remember, these experiments were once people, children, workers, subjects. Fragments of human consciousness remain. And that moment suggests Huggy still remembers connection, not language, not identity, but attachment. And Kissy represents safety, familiarity, home. Just as they reunite, the prototype attacks, and not timing is important, because if Huggy regains emotional stability, he may no longer be useful. And the prototype doesn't keep what he can't control. We've seen this before. Catnap failed. He was eliminated. If Huggy regained independence, he became a liability. Even this moment isn't confirmed. As Sheep Rampage noted, these characters have survived impossible damage before. Burning, falling, crushing. And in the Aftermath recap,
I couldn't. He took her. Kissy is... I don't know. I don't...
Giblet confirmed Poppy was taken, but noticeably hesitates when speaking about Kissy. That ambiguity feels intentional, not definitive. This wasn't just emotional fan service. It answered a question players had since Chapter 1. Why did Playtime Co. create Kissy Missy? Now we know. The experiments aren't mindless. They aren't purely monsters. They can remember. They can feel. And in a factory built on control, emotion is dangerous, because emotion breaks programming. If Kissy survived, she may become the key to controlling or reaching other experiments. If Huggy survived, he may no longer be an enemy. And if the prototype feared that reunion, it suggests emotional bonds threaten his control, which could become the most important weakness in the entire story. Before Chapter 5, Huggy was the monster. After Chapter 5, Huggy is something else. A victim, a survivor, or something trying to remember what it once was. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think Huggy recognized Kissy, or was it something deeper? And more importantly, do you think they survived? Drop your theory below. And if you want breakdowns that go beyond surface level, subscribe. Because Chapter 5 just changed the entire story, and we're only getting started.